Good evening, Dr. Kevin. How you doing? You okay?
I'm fine, thanks. Sorry for the delay, but we were overwhelmed by the conversation we had regarding the Queen, and so and then I also had one of my guests join in quite late, so I had to give him an opportunity to speak. So thank you very much for your patience.
No problem, man. No problem, bro.
Right. So let's get into it, Hugh, because last week we were talking about black relationships, and we were focusing on women and also black men as who've been sort of found out to be sexual predators, and we were like, okay, how do black women keep themselves safe, so to speak?
Yes.
And the key point we're making is that, look, men who have a predatory approach to sex is universal. It's nothing to do with color, right? We've had white men and black men convicted of sexual abuses, but we were sort of focusing on the black experience and looking at R. Kelly, who has been convicted of sexual abuses and in fact given sentenced to 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, almost a life sentence.
Yeah, indeed. That's like people get life. Some people get life sentence tariff of 25 years. So he's in serious trouble.
Absolutely. And before him, we had Bill Cosby.
Yes.
And before Bill Cosby, we had allegations against Michael Jackson, for example.
Yeah.
And we've had many of these allegations. But as I said, it's something that plagues the white community as well. Jimmy Savile.
Yeah, neither color nor culture is a defining factor, really. It's just that, like you said, there's a kind of whether social factors that bring about that, but they exist, psychological and social factors or psychosocial factors that create these type of personalities, and they exist in all races and all cultures. Always.
Absolutely. But yeah, so we spoke about how black women should look out for these predators and how to avoid them, and what parents should be saying to their young girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now today we wanted to talk about social media, because I know you did a blog on this recently, Hugh, sharing your views on the impact of social media, and you mentioned Instagram and OnlyFans as platforms that you were concerned about. Do you want to just start by sort of explaining what's your concern regarding social media and black girls?
Well, the context of the conversation is like, for me, is that there's an idea called feminism that came about, and it was to empower women, right? And it's to create a kind of sense of equality for women. And one of the things that the feminists, first wave, second wave, third wave feminists have been, pushing is the idea is that women shouldn't be sexually objectified, that women have character, they have intellects, and what men can do in terms of being, contributing to the society for their intelligence, right? Is, like a woman's inherent value and stuff like that. But then what we found out is that with the social media generation, more than anything, it's made it more prolific, that women have become more, what they call it, self-objectification, that the IG, Instagram model is a kind of like, it's a creationist era, isn't it? This social media era that we're living in. And IG fans like more or less semi-porn stars. And that there are so many women in general from all different backgrounds, but, whether African American, Caribbean, whatever the case may be, African, but there's so many young women. We use that term girls loosely because we're talking about adults now, but just very young women, right, that are essentially selling their body or selling sex. Because what people don't understand is that, or sometimes take for granted, we think prostitution means a woman that has, intercourse, if I can use such language, but just to make it plain, right? But sometimes selling sex means a sexual image or a sexual fantasy, or, being naked or semi-naked, or, this type of thing. And it's like really prolific. And then these type of women, or these type of images and this type of idea is influencing younger women. So you got, girls now that's leaving school with those kind of aspirations. Imagine that's the kind of era that we're living in right now. And the more the society becomes, the pornification of society, if I can use that word, that made that word, but everybody can get where I'm coming from. The pornification of society makes women in general more at risk, I believe. I think the images, they do influence and then it kind of like becomes for some men, they struggle to see the humanity in women and to see the value in women and see past those images. And so it creates, that negative effect, but also that the women don't really value themselves and sometimes or young girls can put themselves in dangerous situations. So, they say in Jamaica, two bad up enough to work. Like it's two blades on a pair of scissors now. So, we do have some challenges ahead of us. So right now that's going on that we really need to, I think that we need to speak to, and we don't necessarily address, especially in a Black culture where a lot of aspects of our culture, everybody's got sex in their culture. It's normal human interaction. Is creation from God is the best thing in the world. But there's a hypersexualization of our music, of our imagery, and the lyrics in the song, and the way that a lot of the artists are portraying themselves. And I ain't really going to blame the artists, because the artists can't be famous if nobody ain't really going to the concert or buying the music. So
right, but let's break it up. Let's get into it then, Hugh.
Let's chop it up. Let's chop it up. Come back at me, man. Come back at me.
The phone lines are open, and you can also WhatsApp us as well. And I should also say that, let me just, oops, I'm trying to, I got received a WhatsApp message that I'm trying to where, let me just go back in here because I wanted to make sure I do it before the show ends, regarding Glasgow, the city of Glasgow, who have now announced that they will apologize for slavery. And let me just bring it up here, where this came from a recommendation that was led by Jamaican-born Sir Jeff Palmer. Actually, I'm not sure. I think Sir Palmer is of Jamaican heritage, but was born in Birmingham. But he has been an academic, a successful scientist, and also an activist as it relates to race and social justice. And so he led a committee in Glasgow, in Scotland. And it seems his recommendation for an apology to be issued has been accepted. So
that's cool.
I'm just reading it here. I said Glasgow, but I'm wrong. It's Edinburgh.
Edinburgh,
the Scottish capital.
The capital.
Yes, Edinburgh, the Scottish capital, will apologize for its historical links to slavery and colonialism after it adopted a series of recommendations from a review it launched in 2020 and chaired by Jamaican professor and civil rights activist Sir Jeff Palmer. So this is the article that was published in the Glean, and it's been shared by one of the listeners to the show. Well, look at that, right? So that's quite a development there.
That's big.
But it's interesting because we never received an apology from the British monarchy. The closest we've come to, I think, was a statement of regret from William, who is now the Prince of Wales. That's the closest I think we've got to an apology.
But okay, nothing concrete from the monarchy, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yes. Okay. So let's just talk about social media and how it's affecting Black girls. So there's an article here where I found Hugh in the International Journal of Women's Dermatology. It's written by Jadesola Olayinka and others, and she was looking at the impact of social media on Black women's self-esteem, and in particular, she's looking at their how they perceive themselves in terms of their hair and other physical features, right?
Okay.
And she did a survey. She did a survey around how Black women react to certain questions. So, for example, she highlights here that many of the participants in her survey reported that at one point they wished that they did not have features attributable to their race, right? So 78% had thought this about their hair texture. 78% of them wish they didn't have a black hair texture, right?
Yeah.
64% had issues with their skin complexion, right? 60% about their facial features. And listen to this, Hugh.
Mm-hmm.
They wished for smaller lips and noses.
There you go.
Smaller lips and noses, right?
Yeah.
In addition, one interesting thing that she noted, though, right, is that on social media there's this hashtag that was created called hashtag Black Girl Magic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And 82% of the people, the black women she surveyed, and these are black women, by the way, who use Instagram, right?
Yes.
82% of them said that the hashtag Black Girl Magic did help with their self-esteem. It did have an impact on their self-esteem. And 69% of those participants reported improved self-esteem after hashtag interaction. So interacting with this hashtag Black Girl Magic.
Yeah, yeah.
But just imagine, this was published in 2021, last year, Hugh.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a recent survey.
That's kind of, in terms of research, that's current. That's what you would call current, off the press.
Absolutely.
Research is relevant for 5 to 10 years. You know what I mean?
Right. And so these are young black women,
yes,
on Instagram,
yes,
having issues with how they look, with their complexion, their hair, their lips, their noses.
Yeah, because it sounds like colorism, but you know when they talk about or colorism or shadism, they talk about texturism as well, and like in terms of they mention the facial features. I'm not sure what the technical name is for that off the top of my head, but you know, like to say like it comes under that kind of phenotypical, like if I could have a more Eurocentric look, even if I haven't got a problem with my skin color, or if I don't have a problem with even my complexion, but I wish I had softer hair, or you know, this whole this whole low self-esteem based on like your kind of racial makeup. And to some degree, we as black men have a role in that. We do have to some degree on a collective level, not, you know, like everybody's got, you know, their different individual path, but there is an interaction with that, and how women perceive, how black women will perceive what's desirable to us. And so they try to accommodate as much as, again, I'm going to come back and give feminism a little screening again, that although we're supposed to be living in the era of feminism and equality, but like hyperbole rules, you know, and very much the traditional things rule about what men find attractive. You know, women might talk a good one, but really when you look at the fashion industry and the kind of way that what's really hot, right, and what's turned up in our culture, it does play to the male gaze, 100%. The dance moves, right? The dress code, the energy, the frequency, it plays to the heterosexual male gaze. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a minute. I've lost the caller there.
Okay.
Okay, but please call back. Hugh, but before you go to the sort of hypersexuality around black women, I want just to go back to the results of this survey in terms of black women, young black women on social media. This is a survey that was done with black women.
But Kevin, I think it's interrelated though. I think it's actually interrelated. That you talk about low self-esteem, and I'm saying that I'm saying that on a kind of collective level. Go for it. Go for it.
I'm talking about, yes, but what I wanted to comment on is the fact that these young women had challenges with their natural hair. They wanted a smaller nose. They wanted a smaller lips. They wanted, and they had issues with complexion. Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, and I understand that, and we can go back to the psychological research of those African American psychologists from the 1960s. They did black doll, white doll experiment. And, you know, they were talking about the media effect from way back then, about how it affected black children's, you know, kind of like sense of self and self-esteem.
Let me interrupt here. Let's bring in the call. Call, if you can be brief, go ahead.
Well, this is a negative of what we talked about in one of empire-colonialism. Because, you know, through empire-colonialism, white has been the standards. So many of our young black girls hate themselves. This is a perfect example of self-hate. Where you hate your face, your color, your skin color, don't you, right? Because in your self-confidence, right, you really want to work. And so, you know, in 90s, some of them are change. But it's maybe thing. So we have a vanity right, so what we put in anything, because the part that you didn't know about the big queen, like Queen Afro, Queen Afro-suit, Queen Candace, right? They want to, they think about it, because they come from a great royalty and a great history. Well, so they turn it on, this is why you have these some, results that risky is actually their partner. So I'll try that. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Thank you for that, my brother. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So Kevin, what I was saying is that the reason why I brought up the hypersexuality is because it was related to the low self-esteem. So what I'm saying is that I think that as the caller mentioned, we've been given, or it was alluded to, we've been given as people of African descent a white Eurocentric standard of beauty that's been, really burnt into our consciousness. And even in religion, for example, in the representations of Christ, for example, a central figure in Christianity, which is a central religion of Black people in the Western Hemisphere, they are given an Afrocoid or a Palestinian looking or darker skin, like the original people are from that part of the world. They've given us a Nordic, Swedish looking, Norwegian looking, blonde, blue-eyed Jesus. And those kind of things are burnt into the conscious and the unconscious mind of our people, right? And it's generational. It's part of our generational trauma. That's been whipped, beaten, pushed, bullied, mocked, ridiculed, everything into us. And then when you look, that's us as a people in general. When you talk about men and women now, where the intersectionality of gender comes into it and sex, women are the beautiful ones, and I'm trying to say to you. So then, when it comes to the imagery and beauty, and a woman is more valued for her beauty, that's where the low self-esteem becomes a more of an issue for our women in that sense. Because even as men, even if we have some negative low self-esteem traits, if we're competent in somewhere in our life, right, we can hide that. Do you know what I mean? Or we can act out and maybe marry somebody that doesn't look like an African woman. Anybody but an African woman, we're going up. You know what I'm trying to say? In our kind of psychological caste system, if she's lighter and she's from another race, oh my God, if she's a white woman and if she's a blonde, you know what I'm trying to say to you? There's that psychology as well. But it's no surprise that that there will be high proportions of our women who have low self-esteem. It's no surprise, no shock. The beautiful Hollywood stars, I've always been, the Marilyn Monroes and these kind of people. It's not in the modern era, you get the Beyoncés and the Angela Bassett's and these different beautiful Black queens kind of like taking up some of the places in the film industry.
But I think we have to also accept, Hugh, that we have seen more Black women embrace their natural hair. That's been a growing revolution.
Indeed.
And it's reflected in the decline in relaxer sales, according to Mintel's Black Consumers and Hair Care Executive Summary. There's been a decline in the sale of relaxers. Some more Black women are,
and there's been a strong media campaign to as a prelude to that, though, isn't it? That didn't just come out of the abstract. Like there was a very strong media thing that was going on a few years ago, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, that I observed that about natural hair. And at the same time, there was some even stuff on the BBC and different media outlets talking about shadism and colorism in the Black community and really digging up the little princesses with chocolate skin or the darker skin, like being inclusive in that sense and not going for the always the biracial, the more lighter skin. And that's no disrespect to the biracial or the lighter skin princesses either or queens, you know what I mean? Because Black women come in all different shades, shapes, sizes, and they're and beautiful as well. So I'm not really waving the flag left or right, but I'm just saying, because of colorism, there was like campaigns that now kind of pushed back against it, and you've seen that positive impact, like the God-given natural hair, not having to buy it out of a bottle or to stitch it in or glue it in, But what I'm saying is that I think the more that we as men compliment women, observe women in their natural beauty and their natural dignity, I think it's intertwined. I think it does impact women's self-esteem, on a kind of a collective level. And we saw that I'll use another part of history. There was a time when, the Afros was a thing, and it was the 70s, and there was a kind of natural movement, and that really exploded, isn't it? But it was in part Black men acknowledging and saying, you look beautiful, queen, and that became a part of culture, and the women were influenced by that, because whether we like it or not, intersectionality and all these left-wing ideas, women, heterosexual women for the best part, they appreciate the male gaze. They do present themselves and carry themselves, and they are influenced by the male gaze. And I think that the minority of women are the ones that push back against that or deny that. But women want to be desired. Women want to be at least thought of as beautiful.
Right. But how do you define that beauty, Hugh? And should we be doing more in terms of, because as this study showed, you know, the hashtag Black Girl Magic helped to raise their self-esteem. You know, the fact that they've found somewhere in social media. And I mean, that's just one example. There are, of course, several examples where Black women are being
Black girls. They have Black Girls Rock, Black Girls Rock on BET as well.
Yes. You know, so I guess we also need to sort of play in this space, don't we, with our own hashtags and our own positive messaging. But I get the impression from what you're saying that it's not just all down to the women, right? The men have a role to play here because women are trying to make themselves attractive in terms of how they, you know, what they think men will be attracted to.
Of course.
So could it be that they perceive that Black men are attracted to this European standard of beauty, so they also have to sort of transform themselves to fit that mold?
I think so to a large degree. I think so with the hair straightening and things of that nature that's gone on, even if it's unconscious, you know, but like this hair straightening, this skin lightening, this blonde weave, not just the weave, then the weave weren't good enough, it was blonde or it was green. There's certain things that, like, I think sometimes there's a level of, okay, some women have seen other women do it and they just thought it looked stylish and they might just, you know, like the style. But I think the origins of a lot of our styles or our women's styles have been affected by Eurocentricity and, you know, thinking that, you know, the European standard is better and believing Black men think that. And in some ways, I think Black men, there's a lot of Black men that do. So it's a kind of what do they call that thing again? Like, I don't know if it's a chicken or the egg. You know? Because with one kind of like symbiotic, one's influencing the other. We don't know which one kind of came first, but they're kind of so interrelated.
Indeed. And then the other thing that, you know, that occurs on social media, right, is that Black leaders, Black politicians, both in the UK and also in America, Black female politicians in particular, come under significant abuse on social media. I mean, Diane Abbott has suffered you know, great abuses.
Vicious. Politicians, I gotta say this though, Kevin. Politicians in general, male, men, woman, Asian, Black, whatever, right? They're not popular in the sense that you have to have a thick skin for that job, right? And we, in as a society, we ridicule, we mock, we deride our politicians in general. However, yeah, I have noticed in the Western Hemisphere, in white-dominated countries like North America and like the UK, the Black female politicians have been set upon in a vicious, like in a more vicious fashion than the average politician would be. No doubt about that.
Well, I mean, according to politicsforum.com, she has suffered 10 times the abuse of other MPs.
There you go.
So the level of abuse she has suffered has been unique.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So they all get abused, but she got 10 times.
Yeah.
All right.
The Black female politician, a significant abuse. You know, I mean, there was a study that found that that nearly half the abusive tweets sent to female MPs. She was subject to nearly half the abusive tweets sent to female MPs.
And if you and if we just move a little bit to the left and move away from the politics and just go to the royal family, since it's the Queen's passed, we could talk about the royal family. Look at Meghan Markle.
Sure.
Look at her treatment by the mainstream British press.
Oh yes.
I mean, you have to listen to there's a LBC journalist. I can't remember his name now. For the life of me, I listen to him all the time, but his name has escaped to me. But he covers it in detail and really pushes back, heavily against that and challenges people about the critiques that she's received in May is enough. There's no other reason apart from her ethnicity. James O'Brien, that's the guy's name, James O'Brien. Push back a lot.
Yes.
Meghan Markle.
Well,
Meghan Markle hard.
Well, let me just remind everyone, that Danny Baker, a veteran broadcaster and journalist in the UK, was fired for tweeting a picture of a chimpanzee shortly after Meghan gave birth to her first son.
Ridiculous.
Right?
Ridiculous.
You know,
the cruelty, the viciousness.
So under the photo, Hugh, under the photo of this chimpanzee, you know, because this isn't by mistake or it wasn't
No.
Under the photo of the chimpanzee, the guy writes, "Royal baby leaves hospital."
Yeah, because it was some people walking with a chimpanzee holding a chimpanzee's hand in it.
You remember it?
Yeah, I remember the picture.
Right.
I couldn't believe the level of hate and hostility that guy put in that tweet. And actually he's indifferent. Like, it's almost like, it was a kind of misjudgment. Like he really didn't appreciate what he had done. I don't know, like, what's it called? I can't remember this term they use, but like his indifference about it though. Like, he really couldn't see how inappropriate, how wrong, how just out of the ballpark. Cognitive dissonance, the cognitive dissonance of it all.
Absolutely. This is a baby born Britain's first mixed race royal. Right, she has Meghan Markle's mother is a black female, and the baby is depicted as a chimpanzee by Danny Baker.
But you see the hatred is so deep in him, and that stuff is so embedded. Like you said, the context of it is like the royal family. So the royal family is white, and it was being, quote unquote, sullied now, right? So that hatred came from deep within. That's generational hate. You talk about generational trauma, but there's generational hatred as well. And that was triggered. That was clearly triggered.
Absolutely. So again, that happened on social media. That was a tweet. Right? So social media, I think, people might be aware, but social media has become a platform for racial abuse on a scale unheard of or seen before. People have used the anonymity that they can get on social media to really go after people and racial abuse people.
Yeah. But they bring it back to that the point with the young girls. I do really think that we need to really push this or develop this conversation more in the Black space, in the spaces. And I really appreciate you giving me a time to speak about it, and the fact that, like, he's pioneering to talk about this thing. It's not a common thing that we discuss in Black spaces. So as a journalist, I got to commend you, but somehow we got to put this on the agenda about the safety and the image, the ethnic image of Black women, like what it's doing to them, and more than what it's just doing to Black women in the space, and how it affects us as men and our interactions with women and a woman's self-esteem, but also in particular the children and young girls, because they're seeing this and it's influencing them. And the young boys, the school-age kids, they're seeing this, they're influenced, they're on TikTok, they're on Snapchat. So they got their own social media, but it trickles down. And the children see what the adults do and they mimic the adults. So there needs to be a conversation about that, and in terms of trying to address that in the culture. Not that maybe we can be unrealistic and say it's not going to exist and sex is going to never exist in the public space, but I think we need to turn the sexual charge button down a little bit, and maybe turn up a bit more about the dignity, about the elegance, about the intelligence, about the humanity, about the other aspects of the Black woman, that she must be more than her curves and her shape, and that might mean challenging women as well. Because there is that thing that I'm claiming my sexuality and I'm claiming this and I'm claiming that, and it sounds good, but it just fits into the patriarchal stereotype of what men want. It's almost like with Beyonce saying Beyonce's some figurehead and some liberated businesswoman and she's all this, but when you watch girls run the world in the video, she's whining and grinding and doing everything that fits into like, it's kind of like you ain't doing nothing revolutionary really. You know what I mean? It's like you're saying as a black man, you're a revolutionary, and you come and make a video with your hood up and a bandana tied around your face and your trousers hanging down your back. So, but yeah, I'm really showing them. I'm pushing against the society. No, you're playing into a stereotype. They said that you was a chimp and that you're unintelligent and a violent thug, and then you use your airtime to act like that. You're falling for the okie doke. You're falling for the trap. So I think, like, just use that as an analogy. So I think that, our queens have got more to offer than just their curves. So we appreciate their curves. And I'm trying to say I don't appreciate it. I mean, but a bit more than that. Give us a bit more than that, though, in the public space. Because remember, the children are watching. So let's give them something. Let's be a little bit more responsible and think about, who we're influencing or who's impacting, who's watching us, And there's a place for that. There is a place. I'm not outlawing it and banishing it to non-existence. I'm not being unrealistic. I'm a psychotherapist by profession. I know the human being has the erotic side and erotic charge. It's cool, isn't it? But just, in this place, top shelf, adult, push it over there. Cool people who want that, big people can go and find that, but don't make it just dominate the space. That's what my gripe is. I mean, it's just seeping in and filling up the space, but for all and sundry and affecting our Black woman's ethnic image in the Western Hemisphere. That's my problem.
Yes, and I guess next time, Hugh, we should talk about the fact that all these issues we're talking about, we're having a conversation, but then change is quite slow. But when other communities complain, we do see a reaction. So next week I'd like to talk to us about not just the imagery in our music. And the hypersexuality, but also language, the use of the N-word, for example, which is quite commonplace in Black music. But then recently, when Beyonce and Lizzo were challenged about using discriminatory language against disabled people, Beyonce agreed to change the words.
And Lizzo apologized and got shut down quick as well. She got shut down.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. But we're still using the N-word in Black music.
As a form of endearment, really. Come on now, 2022, really.
So we respect disabled people, right? But we have no respect for us as a we still insist on using racial slurs in our music.
Kevin, not just disabled people. In other words, we have to respect every other minority, quote unquote, minority group or protected group. Yeah, apart from ourselves. That's what the challenge is, isn't it? When we're going to respect ourselves on that level.
We are out of time, Hugh, but next week, that's part 3. So thanks for coming to the show. Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks for staying for the duration of the show, guys. But remember to share, to like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Peace and blessings.